Hi class, these are your 3.4 notes, and we're still talking about statistics. And this one is going to focus on measures of variation. And so to refresh your memory, 3.3, the prior notes to these, we're talking about measures of center. All right, so here we're going to talk measures of spread. So the difference is, so measures of center or measures of average, we were talking about what was happening in the middle of our data, hence the mean, median, and mode, right? When all three of those things were aligned, we knew the distribution of our data was symmetrical. We figured out, if our mean is bigger than our median, what does that mean? And when our mean is smaller than our median, what does that mean? Those kind of things. So we were comparing those three pieces of information of our data. Now we're going to talk about the entire spread of our data. So what does the entire distribution look like? So the first definition out of the three we'll talk about right here is range. And this is the total spread or width of your data, or the data. So what that means is how far does it range? So that would be your maximum value minus your minimum value. All right. Then you have this interquartile range, which we'll refer to as IQR. So this is going to narrow it more down. So this is going to talk about the width or spread of the middle 50% of the data. And this will make more sense when we get into an example. So the first thing, we're going to talk about standard deviation. Actually, let's just talk about it now. Your standard deviation, this is your average deviation from the mean. Okay, so what does that mean, right? It means how close is your data to the mean, to the average that you found, right? So if your standard deviation is low, that means your data is pretty close to that average. If your standard deviation is large, then your values are pretty far away from that average, okay? This is only used with, and I'll say with symmetrical data or symmetric data. So we wouldn't use this if our data wasn't symmetric, okay? If it didn't take on that look that we talked about in 3.3, where our mean, our median, and mode were pretty close together. Okay, so there's some steps we can talk about over here. Your first step is you want to find the shape of your data. Okay, so what that means is if it's symmetric or if it's left skewed, right skewed, all right? If it's skewed, all right, then we're going to calculate median and IQR. Now, if it's symmetric, we're going to calculate the mean and standard deviation. Okay. So sometimes you don't know, right? Like you're just, I don't have a clue. Then you're going to calculate everything. You just are creating more work. But sometimes it's going to be pretty clear, all right? So let's get to doing an example. So we have our test scores from that Math 95 test we worked on in 3.3 notes. And here they are in order, which is really important. Now, we will ask you for 5-number summary. And what that means is you have to find the minimum, Q1, which is your quartile 1, which will make sense in a second, your median, your Q3, and your max. Okay, so hence 5-number summary, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things we have to find. So this, hopefully we're all okay with. I'll circle it. This is our minimum, right? And this is our maximum. I'll change colors for us. We already found out this is our median. Okay. So what happens here is halfway between here and the median, this is known as your Q1. So your quartile 1. I should probably write that somewhere. Let's go here, quartile 1. And this is quartile 3. So this is going to get to that IQR business. So if I just count 1 on each tail, 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 here's the middle, right? And that would be your Q1. Doing it on the other side, moving closer into the middle of these values, we get 84. Oh, forgive me, did I do this right? Let's double check, because I didn't count that 96. So let me go ahead and do this again. Okay, so tail, 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 tail. I don't know why I say tail. And here we are. We are left with 84. Okay, so from here, here to here. Okay. So remember IQR? Well, that's talking about the middle 50%, correct? So this 5-number summary, what it does is it breaks it up into quartiles. So that's why it has that name quartile. So this is the quartile 1, right? Brings me up to that point. Here is known as quartile 2. From here to here, quartile 3. And here to here, quartile 4. Well, quarters, right, mean 25 cents, right? Or 25%. And so that's why this is really important. What it does is it breaks our data up into quarters. So that IQR business is telling us what's happening between here and here, that middle 50%. And that is really important, okay? Because that is probably giving us the most information in case something on these tails are really skewing anything. So let's find our range. Oh, let's just actually, before I go forward, our minimum is 49. Our Q1 is 62. Our medium is 74. Our Q3 is 84. And our max is 96. Now our range will be our max minus, let's see, our min, which is 49. So we get 47, and let me get you into good habits, points, right? We should be using units. And here's this interquartile range, which we'll refer to as IQR once again. So this is asking you for Q3 minus Q2. Oh, sorry, Q1. All right, well, our Q3 is 84, and our Q1 is 62, so we get 22 points. So this is typically more preferred than range because it's giving us more information. Those are 22 points apart versus, the lowest and highest score. That's quite a spread. It's kind of hard to understand what's happening there. It's more like you're narrowing in what you're trying to look for. Okay, I'm going to stop the video there and start the new one at making the box plot.